you came into the locker room last night and try to calm him down a little bit. That's what Kenny was saying, that you didn't want him to celebrate too much, or didn't think it was, or how did you react, I guess, after the game? What was your post-game?
Well, I think it is after every game, if it's a victory, need to enjoy it for a short period of time, but know that we've got to immediately start getting ready for the next game. That each game has the same value. When you look at your record at the end of the year, it doesn't say who you beat. It says that your record is, 10-8 instead of 8. Now, the significance is that we have 2 road victories, which is very good this early in the season. But no one knows how this race is going to go. You don't know if someone's going to get really hot and go on a tear, or if someone's going to sustain, catastrophic injuries or the flu or what have you. I hear the flu is going around, so you gotta really, kind of maintain and try to be as consistent as you can be in your preparation and your performance.
Your next game is Maryland, the home ACC opener. Can you talk a little bit about Maryland and the challenge facing?
They're the best rebounding team in the country. They're big, they're athletic, high quality players, size, speed, quickness, jumping ability, shooting ability. They've got a very deep and talented team. They play at least 10 guys every game. And the guys are coming off the bench. I think their second unit could be a starting unit for some ACC teams. That's how talented they are.
So we were just discussing before that that's one area that your team really doesn't have that much depth. So how do you make up for that, playing a team that does go 10 deep?
Well, right now we're playing 8 or 9 guys regularly. Mm-hmm. And that's enough depth when everybody's playing well. Mm-hmm. The difference between us and some other teams is we had Julian Gamble on our bench with Ryan Brown. So we had a guy who could rebound and could score inside, and a guy who could shoot outside. And now Julian's in the starting lineup. We need Raphael and Tanya to step in and play major roles. And even if they don't play major minutes, the minutes that they're in there are very, very important.
We've seen Kaji obviously play very well since Reggie went out. How much have you pushed him to expand his game beyond just being a jump shooting big man? A skill that he has, but he's clearly expanded. Have you pushed him hard to expand his game beyond that?
I would say I push him hard every day about everything. Kenny is a very talented young man. And when I first sat down and spoke to him over a year ago, try to get him focused on the things that should be important to him, but are definitely important to me and my coaching staff. And that is to have the right attitude and work ethic and to carry himself in a first-class manner. And to get him focused on the things that the team needs him to do to be successful. And I think Coach Caputo has done a great job of getting Kenny focused on rebounding, especially defensive rebounding. And now it's even more important with Reggie not being available to us. But between Kenny and Julian, Tanya and Raphael, those guys have to clear the backboards for us, especially against a team like Maryland that has so many big, talented front court players.
Was Kenny's attitude just laid back? What was it about him that you needed to change? Was he just too laid back? Or?
Well, laid back is a term I think that some people would relate to lazy. Mm-hmm. I think more laid back is, I would say like a Tim Duncan is laid back. They're more reserved. Mm-hmm. So what we were trying to do, very much like we do with all the players, is get them to see their strengths, but also get them to observe what are areas that either need improvement or are weaknesses that you want to hide. And in Kenny's case, because he has a lot of athletic ability, sometimes players try to do too much. And what we wanted him to do was focus on the things that were going to help the team win. And his shooting is a major part of that, but his defense and rebounding are of equal or greater importance. And last night you saw it when he blocked those shots at the end of the game.
2 blocks, yeah.
Two
Huge.
blocks that prevent a comeback, you know, and the other team feels like, oh man, we had a chance to really cut into this lead, and this guy makes this incredible block shot, and it's like, you know, very deflating.
Is he
So was
clearly
he-
more a complete player than a year ago, do you think?
Well, I think he's improving. I think it's a process. He's getting better at it. I think this is the time of year last year that he really started to play very, very well. And I think he's doing it again.
So what he was focusing on before you met him and when you first met him was just offense and shooting, or what is it that he just wasn't focusing on rebounding and defense?
Well, I don't want to turn anything into a negative. It's
No, I'm not saying a negative, I'm
It-
just
it's-
saying
it's-
what.
It's not what he wasn't doing or anything.
Mhm.
It's like,
How would you have described him then when you first met him?
I would say he just played. You know, whatever happened, happened.
Mhm.
And, I'm sorry, I didn't shut my phone
Al Walton.
off. It's my son.
So he didn't have specific purpose or goals and stuff, he just sort of played it based on his athleticism.
Well, yeah, I would say he just played, whereas what we're trying to do is get him to focus on areas that he can do really, really well. And that the team needs him to do very, very well for us to succeed. So, for example, we become very goal-oriented then, and we'll use numbers to motivate them. So you've heard me talk about the drilled 5 minutes of threes, where you have to make 50 to get the green light. Well, that's a goal then. But it also then clearly paints a picture in your own mind that, hey, I must be a pretty darn good three-point shooter because I make more than 50 every day. So it gives them that confidence and that focus. If you get an open three, you have the green light. That's your head coach telling you, shoot the ball. Guys love to hear the coach say shoot. But the same thing is true of rebounding. Reggie was averaging 2.8 rebounds for every minute played. That's high-level rebounding. Kenny was averaging 1 rebound for every 4.8 minutes played. We needed that to improve. He wanted that to improve. So there's oftentimes he'll come over to the bench now and ask Coach Computer, how many rebounds do I have now? And his focus is very, very clear. And it makes a big difference.
With your RPI as high as it is it surprising that maybe you haven't gotten more top 25 votes yet? Is that something you pay attention to? Is it important to you?
It's not important at all to me. In one regard. In another sense, it's very important because I think fans follow it, and I think that would help us draw more fans to our arena if they thought we were a top 25 team. And we would be talked about more in the media, which would help generate interest as well. From the standpoint of, does that mean we're good enough to be in the NCAA tournament? We focus much more on the RPI and the things we have to do to qualify as an at-large bid.
How much do you think that the win last night on ESPN at 7 o'clock, I mean, a lot of people were talking about it, and do you think, what's the significance in terms of what you're talking about here about exposure?
Well, winning on national television, especially against a traditionally rich program like North Carolina, gets everybody's attention. And I had 50 emails and 50 text messages that I had to respond to last night. That's how many people were tuned in. I got phone calls this morning from people who I don't hear from very often that were calling to congratulate us. So we know it's significant because the general public follows the national rankings and the Carolinas and the Dukes of the world. So whenever you defeat one of them, it becomes more significant in the public's eye.
At the same time, is it a challenge to keep them grounded and not get too high on a win like that?
Well, I think then that's the coach's job to be sure, like after the game, we were excited and enjoyed the victory, but we were quickly right back to business, and we met as a team right after that and didn't discuss the game at all.
Could you talk about the play of Julian Gamble?
Yeah, Julian has been terrific, and we tried to get him the ball a little bit more last night. What we want is really good balance, 5 guys in double figures, maybe a 6th coming in off the bench. So with Shane Larkin, Duran Scott, Trey McKinney-Jones, Kenny Kaji, and now Julian all emerging as guys who can put points on the board at the offensive end, it puts more pressure on the opponent's defense to figure out different ways to guard us. And if you take away one player, somebody else might emerge. And I think you saw that last night in Kenny and Julian, that those guys got great opportunities because Shane and Duran get so much attention. And now with Ryan Brown coming in off the bench and able to chip in, double-figure points or close to it, that makes us a more well-rounded team and harder to guard. And Julian's doing a great job both offensively and defensively and rebounding-wise. And we need every bit of that with the absence of Reggie Johnson.
Can you also talk about any adjustments you made at the half? Because I heard Bullock's name a lot more in the first half than in the second half. And is there anything specific you guys talk about in the locker room at the halftime?
Well, what we talked about at halftime was that we needed to play more to the game plan and less react to what North Carolina was doing. And in the first half, we were really on our heels, and the Tar Heels did that to us. They came out, pressured us, and we didn't respond by attacking them. We played very passively. In the second half, we just tried to play our defense better. We quit gambling. We gambled a few times and gave up easy baskets. We miscommunicated a few times and gave up easy baskets. And then at the offensive end, we were much more aggressive getting to the basket. And we got fouled more and hit open threes more because we were looking and searching for those shots, which we didn't do in the first half.
Who are some of the people who called you or that you've heard from?
I got a phone call from my high school coach.
Really?
Yeah, he's 82 years old. He was torn between watching the Knicks and watching us, but he chose to watch us, and he was glad he did. I got a voicemail from several friends who I don't hear from very often. One was my college roommate, who has a home in Rhode Island and a home in Florida. I got email from President Shalala and Joe Natoli, our vice president, from a bunch of friends of mine who my wife and I have developed relationships in town here and people in the community. Got some from some George Mason fans who still follow my staff and I.
Could last night's win, you think, help with any of the kids you're recruiting, and how's the search for multiple players?
I got a lot of text messages from our recruits, which is very important. They all tuned in. We texted them beforehand to tell them that we were on TV against Carolina. They all wished us well, that they'd be watching, and then text me afterwards, congratulations. So,
how's that search for multiple players going?
yeah, recruiting is an endless cycle. It's nonstop.
I want to ask you one thing about Shane. When he does get a lot of attention, like last night, I mean, you can see he gets frustrated. What can you do going into another tough game now with Maryland? What does
Well, I
he
don't
need
think
to
he